So here is a review of Comic 6, which was created all the way back in December 2019. I'm going to review this comic right now with you, looking at the faults, how we can make it better, and what I've learned as we going through this particular review of this comic. So if you have a quick look at this front cover here, we've got the imprint name here, Bad Comics. Yeah, I know it's a really bad name. Like, no pun intended there, it is a bad name, meaning not good. So yeah, I'll put that there in the top left. We have the title, Rangers of Justice here. What I wanted to do with this title here is to have it like gold or some kind of like embossed gold or something. It didn't turn out quite right, obviously, because I didn't have the skills yet. And there's a reason for having it all gold, because gold is seen as like something that is very pure in terms of it's very rare, and also it's uncorruptible, right? You can't corrupt it easily. And that's why it was kind of like there's like a hidden meaning behind this. So it's not subject to corruption. There's no way you can corrupt gold. Gold is the way it is, and there's no way to corrupt it. And that's supposed to have like a hidden meaning behind this particular title anyway. Now, the title for Rangers of Justice, where I got that from, is to do with two things. So first of all, the Rangers came from Galaxy Rangers cartoon all the way back in the 1980s, I think it was, or was it 1990s? I can't remember now, it's so long ago. There was a Galaxy Rangers cartoon, and obviously Power Rangers. I love Power Rangers when they came out in the 1990s. A huge fan of that. So I had Rangers here. And then Justice came from Justice League, the Justice League cartoon. And that's where I got Rangers of Justice here. So that's the reason behind it regarding the name here. As for the artwork here, it's okay, right? The artwork. However, this could definitely be improved. I like the angle here at the bottom here. That's very intriguing. Like, who is this character here who is trying to, these kind of like hands here, who is that character? She's obviously being stomped on or something, and we've got this character here. The way we could improve it is this character expression. He should be looking down at the camera and should be more menacing. So the expression doesn't really give it justice in terms of how much danger this person is in. So before we begin reviewing these panels here, the artwork and everything, I just want to let you know that this story continues from the first comic that I reviewed, which is called The Warehouse. So this continues directly from that in terms of the story. So you have to go and read that one first, and then you come and read this one, Rangers of Justice, and then you basically, the story continues from there. So that's a quick note to point out. So it does start from there. So on to page 2, panel 1 here, we have the character on the left with their dialogue in a thought balloon. That's absolutely fine. And then we have the character on the right here with their dialogue, which is absolutely fine. Nothing wrong with that dialogue. The pose here could definitely do with a lot of work. This is a horrible pose. They should be running away, like really like getting out of there because the mission's gone wrong, right? And the expression needs to be resolved as well. So not very good in terms of that. Then we move to panel 2 here. We have the same exact dialogue for the character on the left and the same exact dialogue on the character on the right. So that's absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with the dialogue there. However, the characters look very different here. Again, the poses are a little bit better in terms of the poses. They actually look like they're running in this particular scene here. However, we could do a bit more with the expressions here and the hair to add to that they're running away. The only problem with this particular pose that we're using in this panel 2 here is they're the same pose, right? It's the same pose, just mirrored. So if you imagine there's like a mirror here and they reverse the pose, that's all I've done there. So it's very lazy of me, but that's all I knew at the time in terms of anatomy and how it looks like when someone's running and the way the body looks. I don't know much about it in December 2019. I'm just using the base poses that are inside Daz Studio, or the ones that I purchased through the Daz Studio store. So what you may have noticed is that the character designs here at the bottom are completely different to the character designs in the top. And the reason why I did this is because if you remember the review that I did of the Assassins comic, I didn't like it, right? I only created those character designs because I was appealing to other people. I was trying to get the likes on social media. I was trying to get external validation. I was just doing what I knew gets the likes, what I know works right on social media, like Instagram and everything. You see this all the time. And I was doing it for that benefit. Now, obviously, I didn't like that. That's not the true version of me. That's not what I want to create. So therefore, I decided to change the character designs here in this particular story here, and we changed it like this. And the way I showed the change is showing this like glitching effect here. So it's glitching here, and then down there's glitching over here. And by doing that, it also adds to the story. I think it's like, what is this glitching effect happening here? There's more going on in the story. So hopefully it's getting my reader interested, even though this story is not the best story. it's still thinking outside the box. You're using your imagination. You're trying to use a way to change the way the character looks here and the way they look over there. How can we show that to the reader? What kind of interesting way can we do that? And that's the method I came up with this kind of glitching effect. And then you'll find out in the story as we go through this review why that glitching effect occurs and what's going on, what actually is happening in this story. So that's what I wanted to do with this story, using my imagination there, trying to do the change from this character design to that character design, showing my imagination of how we can link those two together and make the story more interesting. On to page 3 here, panel 1. We have our new character design here, looking a lot better to me, a lot more better. And the dialogue here, that's absolutely fine. What was that? That's okay. I think the expression here is okay. I feel like the mouth needs to be open here to look like she's actually talking. And what's actually interesting in this panel here is the hair. Look at the hair, right? It's actually moving back. So I don't know how I've done that, through maybe coincidence or maybe just me thinking a little bit more like, okay, this ponytail needs to move to look like she's actually running. So that's actually okay. It's not too bad, this panel. That's fine. On to panel 2 here. The dialogue here is fine. Probably Cassie updating the software. That's fine. And we have our character running as well. That's okay. Again, we can improve this with the hair. So really make that hair flow back to show that they're running with speed or something. And then the expression here is really bad as well. Like, there's no expression to add to the tone of how this dialogue is being said. So it's very plain, blank expression that doesn't make any sense. So these panels here, 1 and 2 for page 3, this is me being lazy again. So think about, again, like there's just one whole render, right? This whole panel here, this 2 panels is one render. So imagine like this is one render I've done in Daz Studio. All I've done is taken the whole render, put it in there, and just cut out the bit I need. So I've just cut out, say, for example, this bit here, which is what this character is running. And then I've put the same render into this panel here, and then cut out the section that I need where this character is running here. That's all I've done, right? So it's kind of like lazy. It's something that I don't do at all now. And I really look to move the camera around or something. I don't like to use the same render, even if that means me rendering another panel that's going to take probably half an hour to render. I don't care. Why? Because it makes sense for the story. I won't cheat my reader like that anymore. I want to show them that I'm doing the work. I want to show them that I actually care about the story, and I'm not going to do these like lazy things anymore, which I don't do anymore, especially in Tiger Dragon Rebirth. You'll look at all the panels in those. Even if you read chapter 1 of Tiger Dragon Rebirth, link in the description down below again, remember, you'll see that the panels do not look the same. There's always movement. There's something changing. I never use the same panel twice like this. I never do one big render and just cut out the bits I want. It's always thinking more about the story. So that's me being lazy there in December 2019. Doesn't happen anymore now. On to panel 3 here. We see our 2 characters running here. And the poses look okay for these 2 characters. The hair actually looks pretty good here with the swaying to the right there. And we got the ponytail here. That's absolutely fine. They're running, and then this big guy here in the middle here with his dialogue, "What's the hurry, ladies?" That's absolutely fine. I think that dialogue is okay. However, what isn't fine is the pose could be a bit more menacing here. He's just standing in like a base pose that you have in Daz Studio, which is very lazy, obviously. And then you have no expression on the character's face. How can we even understand the context of this or the tone of this dialogue again without the expression to help the reader? So that's not very good. Also, we have artwork issues here. So if you have a look at this like base here, it's kind of weird, right? Look at this bit here. It's very bad in terms of the base here. He's standing, but this thing seems to be in the middle of nowhere, like the just like extra layer here, which doesn't make any sense. So that's not very good of me thinking about the actual layout of the ground and everything. And then we have our background here, which really needs to be blurred out more depth of field required, or something to enhance the scene so we get our reader to focus on these 3 characters here. That's what I want you to focus on. On to page 4 here, panel 1. We have this dialogue here, call for backup from this character. That's absolutely fine. I think that dialogue is okay. However, the expression is not here. That's not good enough here, the expression. So if you look at the expression, I feel like always the mouth needs to be open like they're speaking, and maybe a bit more concern and seriousness regarding this particular expression here to add to the drama of the story. I also feel like this character here needs to be looking more at this character here, because she just put her hand in the way. So when someone puts your hand in the way, you obviously stop, but you also look to the left here, or in her case, this character's case, to the left here to see why you stopped me. Like, why have you stopped me? So you kind of need to look a bit more. So I think the eyes need to look more that way, or the neck, or the position of this character needs to be definitely, the head position rather, needs to be looking towards this character more. Moving on to panel 2 here. You sure? That's absolutely fine. That dialogue I think is okay. And we have the decent pose here and decent expression here. That's absolutely fine. On to panel 3 here. We have this character and then she says go now. However, once again, the expression here is not adding to the tone of this dialogue. So that needs work as well. Not very good. Now what you will find here as we dive deeper into here, I've been lazy in this page again. So what do I mean by that? This render here that I've done, I've used this render 3 times. So once here and here again and then here again. So it's the same render. All I've done, if you have a look at the expression here for this character here, it's very similar, exactly the same even than this in this panel as well. So all I've done is move the camera to the right a bit or something, and then you got the character here basically. That's what I've done. And same here, if you have a look at this arm coming out here from this panel, it's the same arm here, right over here. And all I've done for this character here is just tilted her head this way a little bit, like this, basically tilted her head a bit that way, and then move the eyes to look to the left a bit. That's all I've done, right? So it's kind of lazy, really, because there's no way this character will be holding their arm for 3 panels out like this. So that's where I've made significant improvements, I feel, in Tiger Dragon Rebirth and in my future stories that I'm doing, is I'm being more diligent with my work. So I'm going through and making sure that the panels do not look like I'm basically being lazy, and I'm doing my best to make every panel that I'm creating for Tiger Dragon Rebirth and beyond as best as I can. I think also for this panel here, panel 3, what would have made it a lot more impactful as well is to have a close-up of this character. So when she says go now, we should have a close-up of this character's face here with a very concerned, stern look or something. That would have added a lot more impact to the story as well, and shows that this character is worried. It's very important, right? It's urgent to go and get help now because we're in serious trouble here. On to page 5, panel 1 here. This dialogue here is fine. I don't know what you came looking for, but you ain't leaving here. That's fine. And then you've got this dialogue here from this character. Just got to keep him busy until Emily gets back up. So now we know, or rather the reader knows, that this character's name here is Emily. So that's Emily over here, right? This is Emily here. So the reader knows that now, that is Emily. However, again, look at this pose here. What is this pose here from this big guy here? It makes me laugh when I look at it now, like he's just standing there nonchalantly. It doesn't make sense. That pose is not very good, so that would definitely need to be improved. And then we've got the expression here, which again doesn't add to the tone of what is being said here, so that would need to be changed. If we have a look at this character here, the head seems to be not looking at this character here, right? She's not looking at this character here. It looks like that the head is turned kind of a bit more to the right like that for some reason. And I have a feeling it's because I'm using the same pose here that I've done here, the same positioning of the character in this previous panel. All I've done is brought the camera around here at the back here, and that's why this character is looking to the right here. And all I've done is kind of like maybe move the arm, so you can see like the arm's moved here, the arm that's coming out here. I've just moved it down here, and then I moved this arm just down here, or moved it further back, because this obviously the arm here was a bit more further forward. I've just moved the arm back here for this. So that's, again, not really thinking about what I'm doing here, just trying to get the character into some sort of neutral pose here. One thing I do want to point out is the HDRI being used here as the background is the same HDRI that was used in the Search for Superman comic. So that's what I was using here. You can see the cars here, and I've just basically made that HDRI very dark, turned the brightness down on it. So I've done that. So that's not very good, right? Because that doesn't make any sense. Like, they look like they're in some sort of car park or something, which doesn't make any sense. So that would again need to be improved. That's me not thinking about, oh look, you can see the cars at the back, but they're not supposed to be any cars because where they're located, they're at a waterfront. The warehouse is at the waterfront, remember? So where did this car park come from? So that doesn't make any sense there. So that kind of makes me laugh as well. I was like, oh my god, that's so bad. On to panel 2 here. We have kind of like a establishing shot here, or at least a wider panel here. And then we can see a lot happening in this panel. We have Emily here. She's running away and she's got the dialogue. Shit, gotta get help. This dialogue really should be a thought balloon. She shouldn't be saying that out loud. So that should definitely be a thought balloon there. This dialogue is okay. Are you going to talk me to death or are you going to fight? I think that's okay. That dialogue is fine. it's in line with what this character would say here. I feel like the pose here is okay as well, and the expression will do for now. That's good enough because we're far away and it looks like she's looking at him there, looking at this character here. That's good enough. I don't like this pose whatsoever here. This pose is absolutely horrendous. This is a default Daz Studio pose and I've just applied it. So this is a really, really bad pose. I would definitely change that. It looks very weird and clunky and very, very unnatural, right? It doesn't look right. So definitely would change that. And again, this kind of like establishing shot shows that this is the chair that Emily was in, right? Where she was tied up to in the warehouse scene. And then we have this character here who's still knocked out from previously, which is what this character did. This character basically choked him out in the warehouse scene, so they are there. So that kind of shows a little bit, I suppose, of me being intentional with the story and how they both connect to each other in terms of the storytelling. So one thing I don't understand as I'm going through this review of this story is my decisions sometimes don't make any sense to me. As you learn with a bit more experience with storytelling, you look at your old stories like, what was I thinking? This is ridiculous storytelling, and there was no like intentional, actual deep thinking about what was happening in this story. So for example here, we have one exit here for the warehouse, but we also have another exit here for the warehouse here, right? So we have two exits. Why didn't these characters from this particular panel here, when they were running, why didn't they go and see that when this was blocked, turn around and then go to the other exit, which is over here? They could have just ran there, right? Why aren't they doing that? It doesn't make any sense to me. It makes me laugh, right? I'm sure some of you are probably thinking that right now as well. As you're watching this video, you're like, that's right, Palmy, why aren't they doing that? And that just goes to show my level of storytelling. Like, okay, this place is blocked. What would a person do if there's someone standing in your way? You're going to find another exit, and guess what? There's an exit right here. Go to this one. Why are you still standing around here? You can still get away free from this particular place by going here. But no, the story demands that we're gonna go and fight this character, right? For some reason. Don't ask me why, but that was my very limited storytelling back in December 2019. Now, obviously, that would never happen. Like that, this would never happen. I would come up with some sort of excuse or some sort of... I would only have the warehouse having one exit point, and that is going to be this exit point here, which is what they're looking at here. This is the one exit. This is the one entrance. This is the one exit. This wouldn't exist here. This particular exit point would not be here. I would fill it up somehow with some sort of wall or something. But that just goes to show my level of thinking then in December 2019. Not thinking too deep into storytelling. Just things are happening because, hey, we need a fight sequence. We need some sort of conflict. Let's just make it happen. On to page 6 here, panel 1. This is actually looking pretty good here. I like the expression here of the character. She's getting ready for fighting. The pose is decent as well. For some reason, I've used depth of field as well to focus on this character. So I don't know where that came from. So that's actually very good because you don't want to have too much for the reader, right? You don't want too much happening in the background. You want to focus on a particular character or something. Then use depth of field. That's what it's there for. And it gives you this really cool effect as well in the panel. The dialogue is fine, right? Okay, so he's big and strong and that means he will be slow. Better use that to my advantage. I would definitely break up this thought balloon here into smaller pieces. So probably like this section here would be like one thought balloon, and then this section here, better use that to my advantage will be another thought balloon here. That's what I would do. So that would go in there just to break it up a bit, because I feel like that is just a lot of like words there in that particular balloon there. On to panel 2 here. I'm going to enjoy this. That's fine. I think that dialogue is okay. However, the problem again is the expression here doesn't match what is being said here in terms of the tone of the dialogue. So it's very bland, very plain here. It doesn't make any sense, right? The pose is fine, I think. I think the pose is okay for this particular panel. On to panel 3 here. We see the big guy here who's moving towards this character here. We've got the dialogue here. Here we go, which is the thought balloon. I don't think we need this, right? This is not required because obviously here we go, because this character is making his way towards this character here. So we don't need this dialogue. That's redundant. This dialogue here, after I'm done with you, your friend is next. I think that is fine as well. That dialogue is okay. Again, I don't like the particular expression here. I mean, he's being serious, which is fine. I think we could do a bit more with the expression here. The pose here for this character is fine as well, and the pose here for this character is fine as well. Even though this is the same pose as this panel here, I think I will forgive that one. because she's getting ready for battle. That's okay. What I would do, I think, to make it better is this character here, as he's walking, he should be pointing at this character here, pointing at them and then saying this dialogue. I think that'll be better in terms of making that scene more impactful, pointing at them saying, after I'm done with you, your friend is next. I think that makes him more menacing. Like he isn't already menacing, he's huge, right? Another thing I would do for this particular panel is use depth of field. There's a lot going on here in the background. You don't need that. The reader doesn't need all this information here, doesn't need all this. So definitely just depth of field, having these two characters in focus. That's all we need for this particular scene here to really enhance the scene as it is. On to page 7, panel 1 here. We have Emily here running. Again, I don't like this pose. This pose is really bad here. Emily running here. Definitely we need to change that. And again, to add to the running, we would change the hair as well. The morph of the hair to make it look like she's running. So the hair would kind of be going the other way or something. So it definitely needs to move with the flow that she's running in, or the opposite flow to what she's running to. This dialogue here, don't know how long Eshe can hold off this guy. This needs to be a thought balloon. She should not be saying this dialogue out loud. She should be thinking it. And then we finally know the name of this character here, the one with the red hair, this one here. Her name is Eshe here. So the reader knows about the character's name, this one here on page 7. Really should have done a lot earlier, but at least the reader knows now that this character's name is Emily and this character's name is Eshe. Over here, this red one here with the red hair. As we look into the background here, this is kind of cool, right? So I've used depth of field here to pretty decent effect here. We see Eshe here, she's kind of like dodging this punch. And again, very bad posing here, as you can see. This is just like awful posing here. It's like a straight punch from him and she's kind of like making it look like she's dodging him. So I would definitely rework this pose to make it look like a lot more better, a lot more interest, a lot more action, a bit more realistic, so to speak, where he's gone for the punch and she's obviously dodged out the way because he's slower and she's faster, right? She can't get hit by him, because if she does get hit by him, it's going to possibly knock her out. One, I think, problem with this panel here to do with the story is, let's go back to over here. So this panel here, she's running away, right? And she looks like she's pretty close to the exit here. And then we move to here on page 7, panel 1, and she's still running. Like, surely she should have made it to the outside by now. So I think that's a story issue there in terms of the way she's running. Like, is she a really slow runner? What's going on? And I think that needs to be changed somehow, because I think when you go back to here, have the character running probably from about here or something, and then we can show like she's already got to about there in that moment in time, like here or something like that in this page here, in this panel here. And to me, it looks like she's running very slow. Like she's almost like more than halfway near towards the exit here, but over here she's still running. Doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's just a little nitpicking by me in terms of storytelling. Doesn't make sense to me. Like, how slower a runner are you? Come on now. Like, really. On to panel 2 here. All we have is this kind of like black panel here with the word slash and then some blood here. Now, what I wanted to do with this particular panel is to show, or rather I didn't know how to show a character being cut at the time. So I thought, okay, I'm not going to show like this knife being cutting the character. All I've got here is just like the slash word and then the kind of like the blood here, like this being cut open. So that was my kind of way to get around it. And then in panel 3, we can see what's happened here to our character here, Emily. She's been cut here. So this is my really first attempt at trying to create a cut here. It's okay, I suppose. Back in December 2019, it's not bad. And then we have her dialogue here and she's swearing. I think with this swearing here, it could probably be a thought balloon here. She's thinking about it. She doesn't have to say it out loud. I think that would have been okay. The expression here is fine, right? I think the expression here is fine. We can't see her eyes though. I don't like that. So her eyes are all like dark here because there's no light here coming. So I definitely would change that. Would add to the expression. So there's a few changes that definitely need to be done in this panel to make it a lot more better. On to page 8 here, panel 1. We see this character here emerge from the warehouse story. And we have his dialogue here, did you miss me? I think that's fine. I think the expression here is fine as well, matches the tone of this dialogue. That's okay. And the pose is fine. And we have Another nice use of depth of field here, where we can kind of see Emily here, and then we can see this character here that's clear here. So I think that's a pretty decent panel there. Then on panel 2 here for page 8, the character here is saying this dialogue here: "God, I love this knife." And then Emily says this line here: "I haven't got time for this," which is fine. It's a thought balloon. I think that's okay. The character is preoccupied by his knife because he loves his knife. He's looking at his knife here with the blood stain on there, with a really, really bad blood stain. I think the blood stain looks better in this panel than it does in this panel here. And you can still see the blood here from Emily here where she got cut. That's fine. I don't like in this panel where I've kind of tilted the camera. I don't know why I've done that, because when you use the tilting effect too much of a camera, it makes, or when you use any effect too much, it removes the importance of the effect, right? It removes like, oh, the uniqueness of the effect. So I don't know why I've just, for some reason, like, yeah, let's just tilt the camera because it looks cool, but I haven't thought about why I'm tilting the camera. Is there a need to tilt the camera? No, there isn't. So why am I doing it? On to page 9 here, only one panel, which is the splash page panel. And we have Emily here. She punches the guy here and he goes flying. Now this panel actually is pretty good. First of all, we don't need this dialogue here. Get rid of that, right? Because this picture tells you everything. The picture tells you everything. And we also have like speed lines here as well. But this is kind of cool. So we have some speed lines here. So I've been doing my homework here. So I have the speed line to kind of show the motion of the swing of the punch here. He's being hit. He's being hit and he's kind of falling away. I think this pose for this character looks pretty good when he's falling away here. I mean, we could possibly add more to this if you wanted to, have the hair flowing as well to show the motion of the force being put into the punch or something like that. That's absolutely fine. And then we have the tilted of the camera angle to enhance the punch, which is okay in this case, right? Which is a great way to use it. If you want to enhance something, tilt the camera in terms of the specific axis. You want to tilt the camera to add to the impact of the particular thing you're showing in the panel. Should have used depth of field here because we're getting extra bit of information here the reader doesn't need, right? So we just need to focus on these characters here. Depth of field, focus on these characters. We don't need all this extra background here. We don't need that extra information. The reader already knows where they are in position in this particular part of the warehouse. Now, one thing again that makes me laugh is like this guy here pops up out of nowhere, right? So if you go back to the previous pages here, he was not there. So if you go all the way back to page 2, 3, 4, even here, right? This particular panel, where was he, right? Where was he hiding? He wasn't here. And then out of nowhere, he comes over here, like somewhere out of nowhere, like he's hiding away, just waiting for the right time to jump Emily. It was kind of weird. So that kind of makes me laugh as well when I think about it. I was like, this character should have been somewhere or doing something. He should not have just jumped out of nowhere. So that still makes me laugh today. But hey, that's my storytelling back in the day. In terms of my limited storytelling, it was like, hey, this character that we had in the warehouse, he just pops out of nowhere and then he just jumps him. It really does sound like a movie that you would see these days, right? Where things just happen. Okay, things are just happening. Don't worry about why it's happening, but this character just pops up and this happens and this happens and this happens. There isn't, again, like much thought to the story and where this character popped out from or where did he come from. He was just hanging around and he just popped up and it's just really bad story. On to page 10, panel 1. Now Emily's outside. She's trying to get her message out here. So she's put her hand to her ear, which is to show that she's got comms on, right? Even though I didn't put anything inside the ear, she's talking to her comms. And then we have the dialogue here. Emily to base, we need backup, repeat, we need backup, over. Now this dialogue is a lot of dialogue here. Definitely would need to split that up. So Emily to base, I think that first part should be one dialogue balloon, and then we've got Emily to base again. That should be another dialogue balloon, a word balloon, and then we need backup, repeat, we need backup. That could be another dialogue balloon, and then we've got over as another dialogue balloon. So probably like 3 or 4 dialogue balloons just to break it up, right? Just to make it look like it's more dramatic instead of having everything and shoving it all into one word balloon. It doesn't make sense in terms of storytelling as well. One thing I don't like about this panel is the expression here. So we can't even see the character's face. And I understand that she's outside, but she definitely should be some sort of lighting so we can see the character expression as she's showing some sort of urgency, some sort of worry, like trying to get this message out. We can't even get the tone of this dialogue from this expression, right? It's a very blank expression. So how do we speak? How does the reader speak this dialogue if they can't see this tone? They can't see the expression rather of this character. Onto panel 2 here, we have the dialogue coming out from the comms here, and then we have the more dialogue here from Emily here. Now all these, I think all this dialogue is fine, that's okay. What I would do is definitely to break up this dialogue. There's too much happening here. So here, repeat, broad, cat, back. So I like that it's like all like broken up, which shows that it's basically there's a problem sending the message, which is fine. However, definitely break this up to more balloons, right? More shout out balloon. I think this is a shout out balloon. So basically break it up into more. So maybe have one there and then have another one here and then another one here, possibly overlapping this dialogue here to show that we're having like a conversation. So you know, sometimes in storytelling or in movies when they're trying to get a comms out and there's a feedback or something, they will still try to say their dialogue at the same time this dialogue is being spoken from the comms. And then you can show that by overlapping it. What do I mean by overlapping? So basically you can have for example this portion here overlapping this here, and that shows that the dialogue is being said at the same time. We're trying to say this dialogue here and this dialogue here is being said at the same time. They're trying to fight for the same space. So that's something you can do. I also think that this panel could be 2 panels. So the first panel here, you have like this section here, so to speak, this kind of dialogue with this, and then the last panel or the extra panel, you can have this dialogue in here as well. I just think there's too much dialogue in this panel. I don't like it when it's like this, all busy and everything, and it's all like a rush. Put everything in here, let's move on to the next panel instead of actually taking your time with the story. Pose is okay here, that's absolutely fine. I think it's the same similar pose to what we had in this panel, so that's me being lazy again. And again, the expression here, there's nothing in the expression we can see. We can't see this character being worried, we can't see the urgency, we can't see the stress, we can't see anything here. So how do we know how the tone she's saying this dialogue here and the tone she's saying this dialogue here as well? So a lot of work needs to be done with these 2 panels. Onto panel 3 here, we have lots of dialogue here, 1, 2, 3. Now, I think the dialogue is fine here. That's for all 3 of these is fine. However, which one do you read first? So if you're reading from left to right, you're probably going to read this one first because it's higher up. Then you're going to come down and probably read that one. And then you're probably going to read that one. Maybe, right? Maybe. It's not very clear which one you read first. So that would need to be resolving. I don't like this thing, so I definitely wouldn't use that. I will let the story here or the artwork tell the amount of damage being done to the character. I don't like to use that all the time now. You annoying wormy is fine as well, that's okay. The pose here for the big guy is very bad. Look at this pose here, right? He's basically standing up straight and he's doing like his leg is straight as well. That's not how you would kick somebody, so that's very bad. In terms of Eshe here being kicked, there's room for improvement here for this particular pose for Eshe. What I would do is change this around. So right now, as I'm thinking, I'm writing in the notes that I've written here as I'm reading off the page, is have this character show their expression. So she's come back from here. We're gonna have 2 panels, right? So we're gonna have 1 panel here and we're gonna have another panel here. This character here, we're gonna see her expression. She's gonna say Eshe here. In this panel, we're going to turn the camera around so we can see her expression, like she's like terrified what happened. And then in this panel here, what we do is this second panel that we're going to have. So remember in this panel here, the first one, we're going to have this character who's going to be over here with her face, her face here, right? And she's going to have the expression like she's really worried, like, oh my God, what's going on? And then she's going to have Eshe over here. And then we reveal in this panel what this character was looking at, which is this scene here. I think that would have been a lot better in terms of telling the story and making it more dramatic and impactful. On to page 11 here, panel 1. Eshe, you okay? I think that's fine. The dialogue is okay for me there. Don't like the expression here. Where's the expression? Where's the concern for your friend Eshe, right? I don't see anything like that, so that's not very good. The hair as well, possibly because she's looking down at the character here, so the hair should be coming in her face or something coming down like this or something, doing something, so to make it a bit more realistic, I think, or a bit more believable that she's looking down at the character. Panel 2 here, we have the dialogue behind you. I think that dialogue is okay. Probably should be split into 2, could be split into 2 word balloons to make it more impactful, I think. And again, the problem is, look at the expression here. It doesn't add context to what is being said, the tone again, sorry. Behind you. So she should be shouting like, behind you. So, or something, right? So we don't see that. So that's not very good. Again, she's just being kicked here, the character. So her hair should be everywhere. It should be all messy. Not all like she's back from the salon. Look at how straight her hair is and everything. It should be messy, or at least moved around or something, right? Unkempt, because she's just been kicked here. We need to add that, show that she's hurt or something and the hair is everywhere. It gives the impression that she's in distress. On to panel 3 here. The dialogue here, come here. I think that's fine. That's okay. What the F? We don't need that dialogue. I would remove that dialogue. I'll tell you why very shortly. The expression here, what is that all about? So again, there's no expression from the anger or something. It's a very plain expression. Never thought about that. And here we have our character Emily. She's just sitting there still and he's just pulling her up from her particular clothing here. This is again very bad posing, just very bad overall. It's not good whatsoever. This actual part here to pull the clothing like that, I believe I used deformers because there was no mesh grabber at the time, no mesh grabber plugin for Daz Studio. So I had to use deformers to make it look like he's grabbing her clothing and trying to pull her away. Now looking at this scene, I would make it a lot better. I would turn the camera angle around to here, to the front. And so we could see everything from the front here. So we can see all this from the front, right? She's being grabbed from the back. She's the expression on her face, the pose we would use here to show her being dragged back from this very, very strong muscular guy and seeing the anger on his face or something. I think that would have made a lot better in terms of storytelling. So bringing that camera across to the front here, seeing her actually being pulled through the pose here and then seeing the expression on her face adds more to the story, right? Adds a lot more than this side-on camera angle here that we have for panel 3. On to page 12 here, panel 1. So we have the big guy here throw Emily, and this pose very awful here as well. Look at this pose. It's not well done at all with the hair, with the expression. What's that all about? I don't like it whatsoever. I don't think we need this dialogue here as well. She's being thrown. We can show her concern with the expression here. This dialogue here for the big guy here, I haven't finished playing with your friend. I think that's fine as well. So he's throwing her. All in all, this page in terms of the pose here for both characters is not very good. We have speed lines here as well, which kind of shows the motion that she's been thrown. I think it's okay. We could definitely make that better with the speed lines. So that kind of shows the motion as well. So that kind of is a slight improvement in terms of helping the reader to understand, like, okay, she was here and now he's throwing her and now she's gone over there and he's carried on his movement over here. So that gives you a bit more indication as a reader how she's been thrown. On to panel 2 here, we have Esha here saying, Emily. This isn't too bad. She's kind of like out of it because she's just been kicked in her face, remember? So she's kind of out of it for top of her face. The expression is okay. It's pretty decent. I think that's okay. Matches the tone for what's being said here. And she's kind of like trying to grab her, like trying to help her. I think that is okay in terms of this panel. Again, depth of field would be better off user to focus on this character here so we don't have all this extra information that the reader doesn't really need in context of this part of the story. Panel 3 here, we have the big guy here. I've had my fun. Time to end this. For this, I think the dialogue here, we can just remove this. Remove all this. We don't need this and just have time to end this. I think that would have been better. Again, the expression here doesn't make any sense to what's being said here. We would need to address the expression here to match what's being said here. Time to end this. A bit more anger, a bit more like devilishness or something to kind of show that this character here is had enough and he's going to end this once and for all. On to page 13, panel 1 here, we have Emily here saying no because Eshe is about to be finished basically, right? And I think that dialogue is fine. The expression here is okay, could be improved. Should really be showing some sort of like pain on her face as well, because remember she's just been thrown into this pillar here, so she should be hurt in some sort of way. And I think that apart from that, everything else is okay in that panel. On to panel 2 here for page 13. First your friend and then you. I think that's fine as well. The expression is fine as well. Shows like, okay, like how mischievous he is or how like devilish he is in terms of his tone of the dialogue here. So that matches that. That's absolutely fine. Panel 3 here, we're showing what the big guy is doing. He's going to use his big feet here and he's going to stomp all over Eshe here on her face, right? What I've done here in this case is I've used like motion blur to kind of show the blur, show the flow of the motion. So it's not very well done, but it's better than using speed lines, right? So I was experimenting with speed lines and I was experimenting with motion blur or speed blur or something like that with Photoshop, within Photoshop. So I was trying to do that. So this is my attempt at showing it. It looks okay. I mean, it could be improved a lot more with the skills that I have now, but that's okay. It shows, I think, enough that this character is gonna go, is basically using his foot and he's gonna go and crush her face, Eshe's face here, basically. So this panel here, panel 4, the big guy says, "What the?" I think we can remove that dialogue. I don't like that. I feel like we could get the artwork to tell the story. We don't always need the dialogue here. Get the artwork to tell the story. So maybe the character should be facing down and then having like a surprised expression on his face. That will be a lot more telling as to what has happened and keeps the reader engaged as well. Like, you're reading this story and this is happening and you're like, you see this character here, he's looking down but you got a surprised expression on his face, and it makes the reader want to turn the page and kind of like carry on reading the story, so it keeps them engaged. So if you have a look at the panel above, panel 2 here and panel 4, what do you notice? It's the same camera angle, right? Almost the same camera angle, almost the same pose. I think it is the same pose actually. All I've done here is changed maybe the position of the head here and change the expression and the eyes in terms of position here. Apart from that, it's exactly the same as this panel. So again, that's me being lazy, not very good, trying to cut corners, which is not good. So this would have happened in Tiger Dragon Rebirth and in future stories. Like I said, I would come up with some sort of different angle to find a better way to tell the story, because there's always a better way, there's always a different angle, there's always something you can do that makes it interesting for the reader and shows that you as a creator care about your stories and you're not just reusing panels because you're lazy. You are thinking about your story intentionally. On to page 14, panel 1 here, we have this dialogue, "Can't let you," for Eshe here. I think that dialogue is fine. The expression here again doesn't match whatsoever here, so the expression to add to the tone of this dialogue doesn't match. I also think that this word balloon should be a thought balloon, and there's no like drama though to this particular panel. She's saying these 3 words here and there's no drama to it. We need to break it down into smaller panels, so we should really have 3 panels, 1, 2 and 3. I'm not saying they need to be here, I'm just saying like, look, we need 3 panels, right? We need 3 panels to show each of these to build up the drama, right? So we can have the can't here, we can have the let, and then we can have the you here, which really builds up the drama in terms of the storytelling. And that would obviously change the layout of this page here, the panel layout of this page, but that's something that I do a lot of in my stories. Is I'll break it down into 3 panels, 1, 2, 3, to add to the drama, and then I'll release that tension, and then I will show you why I did that. I will show you like, oh, this is the reason why I did that, is to add the tension, the drama, slow things down, and you speed it back up. And that's just good storytelling in my opinion. On to panel 2 here, "Die you annoying worm." That dialogue is fine, okay by me. The expression here and the pose, he should be looking down at Eshe here, so I don't know why he's not looking down, and his expression needs to be more angry, needs to be more intense to add to the tone of this dialogue. On to panel 3 here, we have this dialogue for Eshe, "Let's see if you can fly, big boy," which I think is okay. And then her eyes are all like lit up here for some reason. And I think that the expression here is fine as well, like she's kind of like smiling or some sort of smirk would do as well, which is okay. I think that's fine for this particular panel here. So there is a problem with this storytelling for this panel here, on this page, for this panel and in this panel. Is how did we end up here with glowing eyes? Like, how did that happen? Doesn't make any sense. There's no mention of glowing eyes or anything. So where did this come from? To jump from this panel to this panel and to this panel, it doesn't make any sense. It just looks like something happened just to move the story forward. There's no indication of where this came from. Maybe some sort of flashback sequence probably would have helped with that in this case, which is probably what I would have done, is like some sort of flashback sequence. So something similar to what happens in Thor Ragnarok, when Thor is talking to his father in the 3rd act of the film towards the end, where before they have that big fight sequence and he gets his powers back, when he's fighting Hela, and then he kind of like has his vision of his father, and then his father tells him that you don't need the hammer, you've already got the power within you, gets his belief back and starts to like do what superheroes do, which is like kick ass, right? So something like that would have made this particular part of the story more interesting, more better, and adds more backstory to this character as well. So that's what I would do now. And obviously that would mean changing the whole story and the paneling and everything. That's fine, but it makes for a better story. Always my goal now is, how can I make this story better? What can I do to make this story better? I'm not even thinking about anything else. Like, how can I make this story interesting for my reader? If it's not interesting to me, then it's not going to be interesting to my reader. That's the way I see it, right? So it's got to be interesting to me first as I read through it. And if it doesn't come to my high expectations, my like standard that I have, then I need to redo the panel. I need to redo whatever I need to redo to make it to the high standard that I demand of myself when I'm creating my stories. On to page 15 here, panel 1 here. So we got the dialogue here for both of the characters here. We don't need the dialogue. Wouldn't remove the dialogue, don't need it whatsoever. We've got Escher here throwing the big guy here. I think this pose could do a lot more better. The pose is not good at all. Definitely rework this pose here. This pose here is fine here for Escher. I think that's okay. Using motion blur here to show that he's being thrown again. Could use speed lines. You could use some sort of better motion blur effect here to show that he's being thrown. So some improvements definitely required in this panel here. Moving on to panel 2, this dialogue here, what the hell just happened, should be a thought balloon. She's not saying it, she's thinking it. The expression here is fine as well. I think the expression, she should be surprised, like, wow, how did that happen, right? What's going on? So I think that expression is okay, matches the tone for this dialogue. Absolutely fine. I don't like this pose though as well. I don't know what it is about this pose here, this particular neck position here. It just looks weird. There's something off about it. I don't know why. It's like my spider sense is tingling and my brain saying, hey, this is wrong. Something's wrong here. And I don't know what it is. I think the issue is that I've turned the head a lot, but I haven't turned the lower neck or the middle neck here. Because in Daz Studio, you've got like 3 ways you could turn the head. So you've got the lower neck here, which you can turn the head into different axes. You've got the middle of the neck here, and then you've got the actual head you can turn as well. And then you also got the chest as well. Particular portions of the body you can turn to show that they're moving towards a particular position. So that's really off-putting for me. The funny thing that I found as well is if you look at this particular image as well, this render, look at this bad background here. This is sort of like 16-bit graphics here or whatever it was right back in the day. Very bad in terms of this texture here. It's really like basic texture. So definitely would use depth of field to hide that, because that is just nasty. Look at it, it's just horrible. That would not happen now in any particular story. I would definitely fix that. I know how to fix that now. Didn't know how to fix it then, but I would definitely fix that as well. That just looks nasty. Look at that. Ooh. I mean, I like the effect that it's all rusty. That's cool, but it just looks so pixelated. It's just really bad. As for this panel as well, another way I would improve it, just looking at my notes right that I've written earlier on, is remember she's just been thrown into the wall, right? So if we go, where is she? Here. She's just been thrown here. So she should still be on the floor here. She should not be getting up. She should still be recovering, Emily, from this particular thing that happened, right? Where she got thrown into the pillar, this pillar here. So she should still be on the floor, and she can still have the surprised expression and this dialogue in a thought balloon. Yeah, we can still do that, obviously. That's fine. So that's definitely one way to improve this panel again, is to have her still on the floor. She's still recovering, right? She's still knocked out. She's still getting her breath back, right? She's just being thrown to the back, so you gotta like catch your breath so you can muster up the energy to get back up. On to page 16, panel 1 here. The dialogue here, what was that? That's fine. That dialogue is okay. I don't know. I can't control it. Now, what's wrong with this dialogue is you're going to read this one first as the reader, and then you're going to read that one next. That's wrong, right? I want you to read this one first, and then I want you to read that one second. So obviously this dialogue needs to be higher up here, and then this dialogue can stay where it is. That's fine. So you read this one first. So that's a mistake that needs to be corrected here. Again, the expression for both these characters needs to be addressed here. The expression for this character as well needs to be expressed here. Where's the worry? Where's the surprise or anything? It's just a blank expression. Not very good for tone of this dialogue. I know I'll keep saying tone of the dialogue and keep pointing to the expression, but it's very important, especially when you are creating your stories. Like, that's how the reader is going to read your dialogue. They're going to see the expression of this character, and then they're going to read the dialogue in that expression. Very important for storytelling. It's very underlooked or very underappreciated. So that's why I'm pointing these things out to you. So when you make your comic, when you make your story, your graphic novel, whatever, right, you're doing, you are taking that into consideration. So it's very, very important. Pose here for Eshe here. You can look at her eyes, right? She's not even looking at Emily. She's kind of looking like straight like that, which is really bad. So the head needs to be pointing down more like this, and she needs to be looking at her right when she's saying this dialogue. So that needs to be improved. It's not very well done in this panel whatsoever. Panel 2 here, did you call for backup? That's fine. So I think that dialogue is okay. The expression is not okay. So that doesn't make sense. Why is she smiling? That doesn't make sense. Like, she should be concerned. Like, did you call for backup? Some urgency, right? We need some urgency, right? Even though she's just thrown the big guy out of the way and thrown him out, right? There's still urgency. Like, come on, did you call backup? Like, we need to know, because we need to get out of here. We need support. We need something. So that dialogue does not, or that expression does not help whatsoever with what's happening in the story. This is really a tense moment in a particular story. And why is she smiling like that? That's weird. That doesn't make sense. On to panel 3 here. We have Emily here saying her dialogue. Backup. Too much static. Don't know if the message was received. This dialogue needs changing. Definitely would split it up to 2 again. So possibly maybe something like that would be the first part of the word balloon. And then this one here. Don't know if the message was received. Should be another dialogue balloon coming off here. The expression again needs work. What is that expression all about? It doesn't make any sense to the tone of this dialogue, how you would speak it. So I don't like that whatsoever. We can see the background as well. What is that background there? You can see like a car park there. That's really bad. It makes me laugh all the time I see that. Change the HDRI or blur that, right? Use depth of field or something to show that it's dark outside. It's nighttime, right? You can't see anything, or you definitely should not be in some sort of car parking space. They're in some sort of waterfront, remember? So you should be seeing other warehouses or something else, or maybe the waterfront, something else, right? But not a car park. Now for panel 2 here and panel 3, you'll see that I've actually used the same pose here for this shot for this character. So all I've done is basically move the camera around and just put the camera here, which is how we get this one. And for this particular panel here, panel 3, what I've done here is the same shot here. All I've done is move the camera angle around and put it around here, and then we've got the same pose here. Look at the same pose. You can see it's exactly the same expression here. That's me again, being lazy. So just showing you my laziness, right? Showing you like, look, I'm doing shortcuts, I'm being lazy. I don't understand about storytelling. It's just me just trying to do the story and not think about these things. I don't know about these things. I don't know what I don't know, right? So the more you know, the more you realize like, oh my gosh, this is so bad. I would change this, I would change that. And that shows progress and that shows growth. Page 17, panel 1, let's get out of here. That dialogue is okay. This expression, however, is not. Doesn't make any sense here. Let's get out of here. Like, where's the urgency again? Where's the like urgency? Where's the like stress? Where's the like, you know, let's get out of here. That kind of like expression on the face where you know, it's just a plain expression here. So I have issues with that a lot. I don't like it. Every time I go through the comics and do the review and I see this, I'm like, oh, it makes me cringe. It's like, come on, man. It's just a simple change. Why weren't you thinking about this back then? Just so annoying. On to panel 2 here. We have, wait, look, I think that dialogue is okay. And then we have the expression here from Emily here. I think that expression is okay. Shows a bit of concern on her face here. And the mouth is slightly open. So I think that would do in this case. So if you have a look at this panel here and this panel here, this is one big render. So if you can imagine like one big render that I've done here, where Emily is on, where this is the left hand side of the render and this is the right hand side of the render, right? It's the one big render that I've done. And again, what I've done, because I was lazy, I just took that render and put the whole render into here, into this panel, moved it across so we could see Eshe here, so we could do the dialogue, and then the same render that we had here, move it across, move it into this one, shift it across until we could see Emily here, and then have the dialogue there. So again, that's me being lazy. That's not good enough. So just showing you my laziness here as I'm creating this story. I think what would definitely make more sense here, especially with these two panels, is to have in the first panel, have Eshe here helping Emily up from the floor, right? From here, getting her up. And then as she's getting her up, because she's paying attention, Eshe is paying attention to helping Emily get up. Emily, as she's getting up, she's looking and then she says this dialogue, right? Then she says this dialogue. I think that would make more sense in the story, instead of they're already up and they're already like looking. It doesn't make sense because they both seem to be looking in the same direction when we move to panel 3 in a second. So I think that's how I would change it, is having Eshe helping Emily up as she's trying to help her up. Emily's the one who sees that they're in trouble again, and then she says these dialogues. That would be a lot more better in terms of storytelling. On to panel 3 here. This big guy appears here, and I'm not done with you two. That dialogue is fine, I think. Expression, the pose is okay. Expression is okay. I feel like his mouth needs to be open and he's angry. That's fine. I think the expression is fine, but with the mouth open adds to it. The pose, I think, is okay as well. And the characters here, Eshe and Emily, are fine. I think this pose is okay as well. All I've done here with this particular panel here is, if you can imagine, like I said, you've got, this is the right side here of the render and this is the left side of the render. And all I've done is taken this camera here and just moved it behind here, and then we see it from their point of view from behind here, and that's why we see this character here. And then we also see this character here, the one who got punched out by Emily, so he's still here on the floor. So for some reason I remember to leave him in there, which is good. So coming back to this in terms of storytelling, what I don't understand is these two characters are getting up and the exit is just here, right? Here's the exit in this panel. All they have to do is get up here, right? Is get up and then make their way towards this exit, which is all they have to do is turn left here and then make a run for it, which is this exit here, right? Why aren't they doing that? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, there's this guy again, he's over here, but he's not too far away from them. They can obviously take a left and run. So it doesn't make any sense unless Emily here is hurt really badly, right? She can't run. She's been hit, she's broken a rib or something, then that makes sense. So that would make sense why they can't run to that exit here, because she's hurt herself. That would make more sense why they're not making a run towards this exit here, which is right to the left of them. Obviously, we haven't shown that Emily's broken a rib or something. So if I did that, that would make more sense as to why they're not making a run towards this exit. So that would make the story a lot better, I think. So I'm coming up with these ideas as I am doing this review, as I've written down in my notes. I'm like, that would be better. Why didn't I think of that? That's just so much better. So that just goes to show the imagination. You as a creator, you can always go back to your old stories and be like, hey, I would have done it this way, I could have done it that way. And again, that shows progress. It shows that you are learning, and it shows that you're using your imagination to great effect. On to page 18, panel 1 here. We are showing here the big guy here that Eshe threw earlier on in the story. He's knocked out, he's cold here. And then we've got the dialogue here. Didn't you just throw him over there? And this is that. I think that dialogue is fine. Again, this is me being lazy here. So what am I doing here? I'm using the same camera angle from this panel here, right? All I've done is just coming from behind here on this side, basically at an angle, so we can see the character that's over here. That's all I've done there. We have some issue here with the artwork here. We have poking here in terms of the clothing, so that will need to be addressed as well. And we can see the hair, the ponytail going through the arm here, so that will need to be addressed as well. On to panel 2 here, we have this glitch effect again happening as this big guy is making his way towards our protagonist here. And then the dialogue here, what's going on, that's fine. We can have that dialogue. Again, I'm reusing this camera angle here. All I've done is tilted it up a bit so we can see a bit more of the big guy here in terms of the character. A little bit lazy, but I think I could forgive that for using the same camera angle. I think that's fine in this case. On to page 19, panel 1 here. The glitch here, what's happened? You can see that more of these big guys have come out of nowhere. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them now. And these guys are in real trouble here. And then we've got Eshe saying, shit, the program messed up again. So that's fine, I think. Again, I'm kind of like reusing the same camera angle here. That's me being lazy, right? That's me being lazy. I think I could have reversed the camera angle around in this case. I have it from behind. And then we can show the expression on their face to show the terror that they're in. Like, oh my God, it's 5 of these guys versus 2 of them. This one's hurt, and we don't know if this one could do the same thing. Eshe can do the same thing that she did before, taking on 5 guys. So that's very interesting there, right, in terms of storytelling. Like, uh-oh, they're in deep, deep trouble here. On to panel 2 here. This can't be good. I think this dialogue balloon should be a thought balloon. She shouldn't be saying that. She should be thinking it. Again, the expression here, what is that? I don't know what that expression is. It's just really bad. Pose needs to be improved as well, because she should be hurt, right? She should be holding a rib or something that she's in some sort of pain as well. So that would add to the panel here. And definitely some sort of fear, right, in her face, or something like, uh-oh, like some concern, some real like dire straits. Like, there's 5 of them now, and we just about handled 1. How are we going to handle 5 of them, right? And I'm hurt, so, this character's hurt, so this doesn't really show much here in terms of storytelling, in terms of the urgency. On to panel 3 here. Cassie, I know you're watching. Get us out of here. That dialogue is fine. Needs to be split up into 2. So, Cassie, I know you're watching. I think that could be 1 dialogue balloon. And then get us out of here could be another dialogue balloon as well, just to add to the drama of the story. Again, the expression here, what is that all about? Where's the urgency? Where's the fear? Where's the kind of like, oh, hurry up, like, look, we're in deep trouble here. Like, this is ridiculous, right? You're losing that drama by this face here. It's very plain. There's nothing there that adds to the story. On to page 20, panel 1. I've reversed the camera angle now. And now we've got this dialogue here from Eshe. Get us out of here, Cassie. Get us out now, Cassie. That's fine. However, the expression needs to be dialed to like 100. Like, she's just about to be punched by this big guy here. And she needs to be like proper worried, proper urgency, proper something, right? Like fear or something. Same with this character, Emily. She needs to be fearful as well. Like, okay, like they're about to attack and we're about to get hit. It's going to not end well for us. So to add more drama and more urgency to the story here, we need that. On to panel 2 here. We see as we come out here what's actually happening here. We have Eshe here, so you can see exactly what's happening. Did that on purpose, right, for the reader, so they know what's happening here. Like, okay, she's not actually in here. She's in some sort of like VR thing going on here. Now we have all this dialogue here as well, which is all in the wrong order. I think the dialogue is absolutely fine. However, what should happen is that this dialogue here should be first. So that should be first, this dialogue here. The second dialogue should be this. And then the third dialogue should be that. So that would need to be rearranged. Onto page 21, panel 1. What the hell happened, Cassie? So that dialogue is okay. This here, expression needs to be worked on. She needs to be more concerned, more confused, more like, what is going on? Kind of like thing. Like, that was about to be really, really bad. So some more urgency or something where we can see that urgency from the character. Like, what are you doing? Kind of like the anger even. This pose here, whatever she's holding in her hand is awful as well. Look at this pose here. This is really bad. Like, she's not even grabbing this thing or whatever. She just seems to be holding it. So that is just so bad. I just can't even like, oh, cringe. So bad. Panel 2 here, we've got this character here. And she says this dialogue. Sorry, love. Still trying to work out the kinks. That dialogue is fine for me. That's the way this character speaks. That's okay. Again, the expression needs to be better as well. Maybe something to, again, like I say, add to the tone of this dialogue. And a little joke that I put in the background here, if you've seen it here, is in this particular panel is here. We got 3 days since last accident. I think that would change back to 0 now because we've just had an accident where the particular program she was running, there was a glitch with it. So that would come back to 0, I think. So I'll put a little joke here in the background to show that this person here has a lot of accidents in her little lab here. We're adding a little bit of the story or a little bit of background to this character here that's playing a very minor role in this particular story. On to panel 3 here. This dialogue is fine for this character. Sam wants the VR training to be as real as possible. That's okay. And then we got this character here, Eshe, saying, just get those kinks fixed next time we go in. That's fine, that dialogue. This dialogue here, still feel the pain from being thrown around. This, I feel like, should be a thought balloon. She's thinking this, right? Emily is thinking this. She doesn't say it out loud, so that should be a thought balloon. The expression needs work here. She doesn't seem to be looking at this character here. She seems to be looking slightly up here for some reason. So move the eyeballs down a bit more, the eyes, to make sure she's looking at this character. The expression, again, needs to work on this as well. So she needs a more serious look when she says this dialogue here. Again, look at the pose here for whatever they're holding in their hands. It's so bad. Look at that. It's intersecting with the actual item here. That's really bad here as well. That's really bad posing as well in terms of the hand pose here. That needs to be improved dramatically. And then finally onto page 22, we have panel 1 here. The dialogue, very interesting. I think that's okay. Coming off panel really, and we have someone's foot here or someone's shoe here, and then we have them, looks like they're looking through some sort of like footage here or sneaking on them or peeking in on what's happening here. So that was my way of ending the story. Like, hold on, there's something else more at play going on with this particular story. And then we have the to be continued, because that's what I always do at the end of the story, to keep everyone interested and read the next story.